Over the past few weeks, we've spoke with members of the Seton Hall community about how disruption is changing the way they function in the educational arena.
We also discussed the development of online classes and how it's going to affect the post-academic world for the students and the faculty that we interviewed.
We hope you enjoy our findings.
My name is Ryan Flannery.
My name is Kurt Radoff.
Andrew Simon.
My name is Jake Bass.
And I attend Seton Hall University.
I'm an associate professor of economics and finance at Seton Hall University.
And I'm part of the School of Arts and Sciences.
A communications guy.
A bio major.
I'm College of Arts and Sciences at Seton Hall University.
I actually think of Schumpeter's creative destruction, and he has a lot of works on creative destruction, and that is the idea of innovations coming in which destroy one industry because this new industry is just far superior.
So disruption would be the entrance of new technology or some sort of outside factor that disrupts the current market.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely aware of like the new, smarter technology that I think that, especially like when it comes to food, when you have like smart refrigerators, they tell you when to replace, certain types of food and when to replace batteries and the lights and the cooling stuff. And then especially in grocery stores, you have self stuff. So like you check out, and even in like Best Buy's, grocery stores, I've seen it in a lot of places where you can check out stuff yourself.
What comes to my mind is just distraction, especially in like classrooms or when communicating with people. Multiple things going on at one time pulls attention. That's the disruption that I think of. So I think there are certain learning things like processes, content, that will do fine online. And I think there are other ones that it's not just a matter of putting the information out there.
A bit of a learning curve with it, that's for sure. Especially because they don't cover how to use it and how to use the online course and all the features that are associated with it. As a student, it's made me make a schedule. I've been forced to do that just because each assignment has like a certain due date and you have to be able to follow that and make sure that you're getting everything done on time. Otherwise your grades are going to get destroyed.
I love the new technologies. I integrate technologies into my classroom. I have my students do online homeworks. I teach an online class now that wouldn't have been possible 20 years ago. I won't say 15 years ago because I had computers when I was in school. I'm not quite that old. It has been innovative. It has been advancing in my career. I think the disruption part is the idea of the MOOCs, the massive open online courses, but I think people overstate what their disruption is to the traditional higher education model. I think they actually target a completely different sector. They're not targeting the sector of people who go to traditional schools, that go to traditional education. It's fundamentally a different model, and I think that they end up targeting separate audiences.
Some of the stuff we do in there, they try to simulate that hands-on application. So we have like simulated experiments where you're like clicking on moths for like natural selection and stuff like that. And then we have like one of our experiments involved different pictures of skulls that we had to print out, and we were just contrasting the features on the different skulls and comparing them to each other, which could have been done in a lab with real skulls, but we're just using pictures instead. So we're just making do with what we have essentially.
I mean, to me the biggest impact is what the information that's available. So you don't have to actually do the reading anymore. You can Google the reading and get a summarized version of it. In fact, that's expected.
And one of the useful things that comes out of the online course is the learning of skills. So a lot of my online course is based on research, finding good resources out there, and then taking information from the different resources, comparing them together, and trying to figure out like which one's more reliable, and really tying in the information between the two resources.
It's funny, like I always talk to more like experienced DJs than me, just to get some advice, and they always tell me, man, go on YouTube, like look at how these dudes scratch, look at how these dudes transition and mix and all that. So that really helped. YouTube was a big one. Before I even started mixing, I interned at Power 105 and I kind of played around with it one day, and then I was like, like this looks interesting, I'm going to try to do this, because a lot of radio on-air personalities know how to do that. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to try to broaden my field so I can get noticed more.
One of the things that I think the online course lacks the most is that interaction with the instructor. Because a lot of times the instructions will be placed online for an assignment, but they're just not clear. And there's so much that goes into an assignment. It'd be easy to just ask the instructor in person, what do we do? And so I'll send an email, but you don't get an immediate response that way.
Students are better off when somebody's assisting them and having dialogue about it and critical thinking going back and forth. So I think there are either parts of courses or some courses that would do really well that people can log on when it's convenient for them and learn the material.
You know, up to this point, doctors have always been selected based on their ability to memorize facts, essentially, to diagnose the patients. But I think now with technology, the internet, I mean, we have the world at our fingertips. We're able to just type in a couple symptoms. You know, WebMD isn't the most accurate,
Yeah.
but it's a good start. It's a stepping stone. And I think it's going to get to the point where doctors are hired more for their people skills than their ability to memorize.
Things here, like if I'm doing something with audio, if I'm editing audio, if I'm making a commercial spot, or you know, putting something together on Adobe Audition or Pro Tools, the editing systems we have, a lot of it is they have presets in there. You don't have to do a lot of work, you know what I mean? So you can just put your audio in there, upload that to the system, and you can just click a couple buttons and make it sound crazy. But back in the day, you had to literally like take a knife and like cut reels and, you know, do everything manually. So even in terms of that, that's in terms of what I do, you know, that's a form of disruption technology for sure.
I know that right now there's a lot of doctors who are kind of being pushed out of the medical field because everything's going from all the record keeping is going from very paper-based to electronic-based. And actually one of the doctors that I shadowed recently retired because he just wasn't able to keep up with that transition.
I mean, it's cool. Like, I really can't say anything bad about it. I think the one downside to it is maybe people will start to become more dependent on it. Like, a lot of people become dependent on their phones and their laptops and you know, TV even, you know, Netflix and all that. But I think if it's helpful, like, you know, you get in the car, it takes you away from looking at your phone, or if you could just say, hey, give me directions to here, play this, play that. I think if it takes away from, you know, the rise and deaths of texting while driving and all that, you know, if I go to the grocery store and I want to get out of there really quick, I can just, you know, self-checkout, boom, we're good to go. It's, you know, and in terms of, like, if you need something new in your fridge, like, that's cool if it just tells you that, so I don't have to think about it, you know what I mean? So it takes the thinking element away, like, it takes the effort out of it, but some of that is good, some of that is bad. But I think moving forward, as long as people aren't, like, dependent on their life about it, I think it'll be good.
Like students are on Facebook or on some other social media site, or people are just used to looking at their screens. Even if they're on the phone with one person, they might be looking at a screen for something else. So it seems like can disrupt the way people communicate and interact with each other.
I mean, we're at the cafeteria and you walk by these kids and the whole table is just on their phones.
It's here, and there's more of it coming, no matter what anybody thinks.
I'm still working on that. I try to limit my distractions. Obviously, I try to monitor the time that I spend on the cell phone to limit that and try to enjoy my actual life instead of the virtual life.
To project down the road, especially with things changing so quickly, I find it almost impossible to say, well, in 2 years we'll do this, because I'm already doing things that 2 years ago I could not have foreseen.
Now knowledge, current knowledge, future knowledge type stuff, you need to be in the interaction with. So that, I think, will always be there. Just integrating more things into the classroom. I think it's going to make the educational process better, and I think it's going to make, it's going to open access to this type of knowledge to a whole bunch of people around the world that previously didn't have.
Everything, again, it's adapting to technology. Like, if you're not adapting to Twitter, or, you know, if you're not putting your stuff out on social media, if you're not promoting yourself on social media, if you're not taking advantage of making a website or uploading your music or your movie or whatever you're doing, then you're not going to get noticed. So I think it's all about building your brand too. Technology is so big on, like, building your brand.
Keep up, because that's the way things are going.